Subic Bay, once the site of one of the world's largest U.S. naval bases. For much of the 20th century, this deep-water port on the western coast of Luzon was a strategic stronghold, a symbol of American military might in the Asia-Pacific region. For decades, American ships and sailors were a fixture in Olongapo City, shaping the local economy and culture. The city thrived on the constant flow of servicemen, with businesses, entertainment, and even local traditions adapting to the rhythms of the base. Generations of Filipinos grew up alongside the Americans, forging friendships, romances, and sometimes tensions that would leave a lasting mark on the community. The 1991 Senate vote to close the bases marked a turning point, a bold assertion of Philippine sovereignty. After years of debate, protests, and national soul-searching, the country decided to chart its own course, free from the shadow of foreign military presence. By 1992, the last U.S. soldier had left, and Subic Bay transformed into a free port zone, a symbol of Filipino ambition. The once bustling military base was reborn as a hub for commerce, tourism, and industry, showcasing the resilience and resourcefulness of the Filipino people as they turned a page in their history. But shifting geopolitics brought the U.S. and Philippines together again, especially as tensions rose in the West Philippine Sea. The growing assertiveness of regional powers made security cooperation more urgent, and old allies found new reasons to work side by side. Agreements like the Visiting Forces Agreement and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement allowed for joint military exercises, no permanent bases, but regular U.S. deployments. These arrangements balanced national pride with practical security needs, keeping the partnership alive in a new era. Balikatan drills became routine, with American jets and helicopters once again a familiar sight. Each year, thousands of troops trained together, building trust and readiness, while the people of Subic watched the skies fill with the roar of engines and the promise of protection. In August 2025, Subic Bay buzzed with activity as a squadron of U.S. Marine Corps helicopters arrived for maritime security drills. The arrival was covered by local and international media, highlighting the bay's renewed importance in regional defense. Their presence was seen as a sign of strong alliance, until the unthinkable happened. The sense of security that had settled over Subic was about to be shattered. No one could have predicted that these very symbols of partnership would soon become the center of a mystery that would grip the nation. Rumors began to swirl, and questions outnumbered answers as the community braced for what was to come. The stage was set for an incident that would challenge everything Filipinos thought they knew about their own backyard. Subic Bay, once a place of routine and reassurance, was now at the heart of uncertainty. Subic Bay was about to become the focus of a story no one could ignore. A story that would test alliances, stir old memories, and force a nation to confront its past and its future. August 25, 2025. What began as an ordinary evening in Subic Bay would soon become anything but. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the tranquil waters as locals wrapped up their day, unaware of the extraordinary events about to unfold. The familiar hum of U.S. military helicopters echoed overhead, a routine presence in the area. But suddenly, the air itself seemed to change. A deep, resonant vibration swept across the bay, rattling windows and sending ripples through the water. Out of nowhere, ethereal lights materialized above the water, darting and weaving with impossible speed and agility. They moved in patterns no human aircraft could match, encircling the helicopters in a mesmerizing, almost hypnotic dance. Eyewitnesses on the shore watched in disbelief as the helicopters began to swerve and spiral, their movements erratic and unnatural, as if caught in the grip of an invisible force field. Some described a strange pressure in the air, a sense of unease that was hard to explain. Then, in chilling succession, the helicopter's lights flickered and died. There were no explosions, no distress calls, just a haunting silence as one by one the aircraft lost power and drifted downward, vanishing into the dark waters below. In less than 5 minutes, 6 helicopters had disappeared without a trace, leaving only an empty, silent sky above Subic Bay. The mysterious lights lingered for a moment longer, hovering above the water, before suddenly shooting upward and vanishing into the night. On the shore, panic and confusion erupted as crowds tried to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Within minutes, the Philippine Coast Guard and Navy scrambled to the scene, launching boats and mobilizing search teams. U.S. personnel immediately locked down Subic Airport, sealing off the area as emergency responders rushed in. Was this a catastrophic mechanical failure, a coordinated attack, or something far more mysterious? Military experts and investigators were left baffled, with no clear answers. The silence that followed was deafening. Across the region, families watched the news in stunned silence, while officials scrambled for explanations. There were no answers, only mounting questions and growing fear. By dawn, the Subic Bay mystery had gripped the nation. Headlines blared the shocking news, and citizens everywhere were left reeling, desperate for information. Search teams scoured the waters for any sign of the missing helicopters, but the wreckage was sparse and the clues even fewer. What had just happened in Philippine waters? The question echoed across the country. As the story broke, the world watched in disbelief. The Subic Bay incident was about to become an international mystery, one that demanded answers. By morning, the Subic incident dominated headlines nationwide. Cell phone videos of the lights and falling helicopters looped endlessly on TV and social media. Filipinos were stunned. How could advanced US helicopters simply vanish? Online, theories and fears multiplied. Was this a threat to national security? What did it mean for the US alliance? Officials scrambled for answers, but confusion reigned. Some politicians blamed the US presence, demanding investigations and transparency. Even the armed forces admitted they were in the dark, waiting for American explanations. The incident exposed cracks in the alliance and left the public demanding the truth. Eyewitnesses became the key to understanding the night's events. In the absence of official clarity, it was the voices of ordinary people, fishermen, teenagers, and locals who painted the most vivid picture of what truly happened. Mang Jun, a fisherman who had spent decades on these waters, described lights moving like ghosts and an unnatural cold before the helicopters fell. He said the air itself seemed to change, thick with a strange energy, as if the sea was holding its breath. Teenagers camping on the beach captured shaky video. Solid balls of light changing colors. They moved in patterns we'd never seen before, darting and weaving above the water, almost playful, but with a sense of purpose. The helicopters tried to escape, then just dropped. No sound. The silence was as shocking as the sight itself, as if the world had been muted in that instant. A former air traffic controller, monitoring frequencies, heard nothing. No distress calls, no warnings, just sudden total silence on the airwaves. It's as if they were switched off. The screens went dark, the radios died, and every trace of communication vanished in an instant. I've never seen anything like it. The disbelief was written on every face, a shared sense that something unprecedented had occurred. Across accounts, the details matched. Silent, erratic lights. Helicopters rendered helpless. Total power loss. No explosions. The consistency was chilling, as if everyone had witnessed the same impossible event. These weren't stories of mechanical failure. The machines were intact, but something had stripped them of power, leaving no trace of what had gone wrong. Witnesses insisted something external, something unknown, had neutralized advanced military technology in seconds. It was as if an invisible force had reached out and simply turned everything off. The consistency of their stories made the official explanations harder to accept. People began to question what they were being told, searching for answers that made sense. The mystery deepened as more people came forward, each account adding to the sense of the impossible. The community grew restless, united by confusion and fear. The nation listened, riveted and unsettled. Conversations in homes, markets, and streets all circled back to that night, and the question of what really happened. What force could do this? Was it a new weapon, a natural phenomenon, or something beyond human understanding? The eyewitnesses had no answers, only the memory of a night that defied logic. Their stories lingered, haunting the collective imagination. Their stories became the backbone of a growing national unease. The incident was no longer just news, it was a mystery that demanded resolution. The search for truth had only just begun. Investigators, journalists, and ordinary citizens all joined in, determined to uncover what had really happened that night. Subic Bay was no longer just a place, it was now a question mark. And everyone wanted answers, no matter how unsettling those answers might be. Under pressure, US officials issued a brief, guarded statement. An aviation incident, search and rescue underway, cause under investigation. No mention of the lights, no word on the crew. The Philippine Department of National Defense echoed concern, but admitted they lacked information. Behind the scenes, frustration grew as the U.S. declared the site a U.S. operation zone, limiting Filipino access. Pentagon spokespeople dismissed the lights as drones or flares, insisting on a technical failure. The public wasn't convinced. Videos showed otherwise. The official narrative clashed with what people saw, fueling distrust and conspiracy theories. Instead of calming the nation, the denials only deepened the mystery. Subic Bay became the center of a secretive recovery operation. U.S. Navy salvage ships scoured the depths while the Philippine Navy played a supporting role. Weeks passed with little information, just vague press releases and mounting frustration. Filipino investigators complained of limited access to data and black boxes. The U.S. maintained an information blackout, citing security. Two narratives emerged. The U.S. blamed a technical glitch. Filipinos suspected a cover-up. The deeper the search, the murkier the truth became. The wreckage might be found, but the real story seemed destined to remain hidden. The Subic Bay incident became a diplomatic crisis. The Philippine Senate called for a full inquiry and a review of military agreements. Public trust in the U.S. wavered, with many feeling disrespected by the lack of transparency. The Department of Foreign Affairs struggled to balance demands for answers with the need to preserve the alliance. High-level meetings were tense. The U.S. cited security. The Philippines demanded respect. The incident exposed the unequal dynamics of the partnership. Was this a relationship of equals or something else? The future of the alliance now hung in the balance. Days later, the core questions remained unanswered. What were the lights? Official explanations didn't match eyewitness accounts. Was this a foreign attack, a secret U.S. test, or something beyond current understanding? The fate of the crew was still unconfirmed, adding to the pain and suspicion. How could 6 helicopters fail at once? Theories of EMPs or cyber attacks circulated. The incident revealed how little the public knew about what happened in their own skies. The silence from authorities only fueled fear and speculation. Subic Bay's mystery had become a national obsession and a source of deep distrust. The Subic Bay mystery is a turning point for the Philippines. Lawmakers and citizens demand transparency and a re-examination of military agreements. The U.S. response will shape the future of the alliance. Continued secrecy could cause a permanent rift. The incident highlights the need for the Philippines to strengthen its own defense and surveillance capabilities. For too long, the country has relied on the U.S. security umbrella. Now the dangers of that reliance are clear. The search for answers is also a search for sovereignty. Whether the truth is mundane or extraordinary, Filipinos deserve to know. The event has forced the nation to look at its alliances and itself with new eyes. Subic Bay's mystery will echo for years, changing how the Philippines sees its place in the world.